So what we are discussing about the communication part, right? So the person who is having very good knowledge, experience, but he is not a good communicator. He is not able to, he is able to answer all the questions and answers, but he is not that much proactive person. His communication is, not as much as good, right? His response is not good. He's not responding. He's sounding dull, right? Then maybe interviewer will reject him. So it is important to have the better communications. So that is the reason I'm asking you to acknowledge that. Whenever I ask about any questions and all, immediately, just take a 1 second, pause, and then immediately you have to respond. Okay. So this is very important one, right? So yeah. So we were discussing on the dynamic host configuration protocol, right? So the name itself indicates dynamic means automatically. Host means our laptops or desktops. Configuration means to configure something. What something? Protocol means internet protocol, IP, right? So the name itself has entire definition of this DHCP. Dynamically configure means assign IP addresses to the host.
सर स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हुई.
Okay, good. I was just waiting for this only. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledge. How about now?
Yes sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so the name itself indicates dynamic host configuration protocol, right? So dynamic means automatically, host means our laptop, desktops, end users. Configuration means we need to assign or configure something. What something? Protocols. Protocols means IP, internet protocol, right? So these things you need to learn. Using that, you can explain about the DHCP process. So DHCP is the server. Using that, we can configure IP address automatically to the laptop. Again, I'm repeating. Using the DHCP, we can configure IP address automatically in the host, means computers. Simple. So just understand the full form. You'll be able to answer these questions. Interview basically does not ask it that much simple questions, but using that, you can able to answer this. All right. So we have completed this DHCP. Okay. We have seen what is DHCP, where it is used, the DORA process, how DORA process works, how do we assign IP address through DORA process, and we have seen like DHCP server, how do we configure that in in the router, and we have also seen like how do we configure DHCP server in our Windows Server operating systems, which is 2016 server, right? These things we have seen. How do we created the scopes, right? How we how we have given the ranges from 100 to 200 or 0 to 100, this 100 IP addresses, right, range. So these things we have discussed. Okay, so next topic will be important one, which is DNS. Okay, so the questions I have told you about the DSCP, interviewer will not ask the more question apart from these questions, like what is DSCP, how it works, what is DORA process, you know, how do we configure DSCP in routers or servers, and what is a PIPA IP address, what is 169.254 IP address, right? And if the DSCP server get fails, what will happen? So these questions interviewer can ask, and the answer is same for all these 5 or 6 questions. You need to explain the entire process. Okay. Yeah. So next one we have a DNS, which is again a very very important one.
सर
Mm-hmm.
अपीपा एड्रेसिंग फेल नहीं होती क्या?
Sorry.
अपीपा एड्रेसिंग सर फेल नहीं होती क्योंकि वो ऑटोमेटिक करते हैं तो वो भी कभी फेल होता हूँ.
देखो, अपीपा मीन्स व्हाट कि सिस्टम खुद से एक आईपी एड्रेस खुद को असाइन कर रहा है, ठीक है, ऑटोमेटिक ही कर रहा है, वो स्टैटिक नहीं कर रहा है ना। फॉर एग्जाम्पल कि अगर यहाँ पे आप जा रहे हो, ठीक है, कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट में, एंड इफ यू टाइप दी सेम कमांड आईपी कॉन्फिग, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा जूम कर लेता हूँ, आपको विजिबल हो जाएंगे ये आईपी, ठीक है, यहाँ पे मैंने डाला हूँ आईपी कॉन्फिग और इंटर। सो मुझे क्या आईपी एड्रेस मिला यहाँ पे, कैन सी, ये ऑटोमेटिक आईपी एड्रेस मिला है, राइट, 107। सो जब मेरा डीएचसीपी सर्वर मीन्स ये जो राउटर मैंने कॉन्फ़िग किया हुआ है, जो राउटर था मेरा, ठीक है, ये बंद हो गया फॉर एग्जांपल, ठीक है, ये शट डाउन हो गया। सो अब यहाँ पे मुझे कौन सा आईपी एड्रेस दिखेगा, 192.16, सॉरी, वन क्या रेंज था, मैं भी भूल गया, 154 है ना, 169.254, राइट, 169.254 ये रेंज, ठीक है, ये रेंज आपको वहाँ पे मिलेंगी, यहाँ पे कुछ भी आ सकता है वहाँ पे, बट दिस टू रेंज आर मैंडेटरी, 169.254 ये मिलेगा आपको यहाँ पे, 169.254, और बाकी में आईपी एड्रेस रहेगा। अगर यहाँ पे आपको आईपी एड्रेस दिख रहा है, विच मीन्स कि आपका डीएचसीपी सर्वर फेल हो गया है और आपको आईपी एड्रेस असाइन हुआ है 169 अपीपा आईपी एड्रेस। अब आप बोलोगे सर कि वेन एवर दी राउटर्स विल स्विच ऑन, देन व्हाट विल हैपन, जब राउटर आपका वापस से स्विच ऑन हो जाएगा, सो वापस से आपको आईपी एड्रेस मिल जाएगा, कौन सा, जो राउटर डीएचसीपी सर्वर प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, फिर आपका ये वाला जो आईपी एड्रेस है वो चला जाएगा यहाँ से, जो भी कौन सा, जो आपका आपकी आईपी एड्रेस था वो रिमूव हो जाएगा वहाँ से, ठीक है। अगर रिमूव नहीं हो रहा है, सो वी हैव वन कमांड, ठीक है, कि हम आईपी एड्रेस को रिलीज कर सकते हैं और वापस से उसको रिन्यू कर सकते हैं। तो कमांड क्या है उसकी, आईपी कॉन्फिग स्पेस फॉरवर्ड स्लैश रिलीज, ये कमांड है, इससे जो भी आपका आईपी एड्रेस मिला है वहां से रिलीज हो जाएगा, और फिर उसके बाद में एक और कमांड चलाना है इसके बाद में, रिन्यू, ठीक है। तो ये आपको आईपी एड्रेस यहाँ से चलाना है, या कमांड चलानी है, क्लियर। वापस से आपको जो आईपी एड्रेस पुराना था या फिर जो भी डीएचसीपी के पास में है वो आपको मिल जाएगा।
ओके सर।
या, गुड क्वेश्चन, एनी फर्दर क्वेश्चन ऑन दिस गाइज?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, let's proceed further for the DNS, because DNS again it is a very important one. Okay, give me just 2 minutes guys, huh? I'll be back, just 2 more minutes only. Yeah, sorry guys. All right. Okay. So we were discussing on the DNS. Okay. ये ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. Let me just check how the DNS works here. Okay. So in this, DNS stands for domain naming servers or domain naming systems. Okay. So what is the role of this domain naming server or DNS? So as we have computers, as we all are aware, like computer understands the binary language. They don't understand, the human language, right? They understand the numbers, correct? So, and one more thing. So, like we have seen IP addresses, like every systems or every computers has a own IP addresses. Own means has a separate IP addresses, right? Their separate identity, right? So similar way, like in the world, you would have seen, like there are thousands of websites are there, right? Billions of websites we have, correct? And those billions of websites have their own server. They all are installed in the servers, right? So like for example, Google has servers. The Google websites are stored in the server, and from server we access that websites, correct? Similar way, YouTube, Facebook, Insta, WhatsApp, every websites has uh, every websites are installed in the server. Okay, with some names, like if you have youtube.com is the server, or facebook.com is the server name, correct? Or google.com is the server name, right? So this is the name, but computer don't understand the names. They only understand them by their IP addresses, right? They only understand by their IP addresses. Even our computer as well. They only understand the addresses, correct? If I'll open here google.com, I'll be open that, right? Google. Let's take an example here. Google.com. I'll get the Google page open. See here, right? But this is the human readable language, google.com. Computer does not understand this. Computer does not understand this. So what they understand? They understand the IP address, correct? So we have to enter the Google's IP address. I mean, once we'll enter the google.com, so our system will translate, not our systems, our DNS server will translate that Google name into its server IP addresses or its IP addresses. And then it will send the request to the Google server. I'm repeating. Once I'll type google.com, so Google, our DNS server will translate that google.com name into its IP address and it will send to the google.com. Okay, and once we'll receive the page here, see here, I have received the output. I have entered google.com here and I have received output. It happens within a fraction of seconds, right? So DNS take within a fraction of seconds to translate that name into IP address and IP address into name. So once I'll type google.com, so it will send the DNS will translate that name into IP address and send it to the Google server. Then from Google server, he will respond and I will get the result, whatever I'll type. So again, the request I will receive it in my system in the form of IP address only. then our DNS will translate that IP address into our name. I mean human readable language, which means DNS helps to translate the human readable language to machine readable language and vice versa, which means from machine readable language to human readable language. I'll give a best example here. Okay, so let me just see this. Okay, so if I'll type here ping, ping is one of the command that we'll discuss a little bit later on. Google.com. What I'm pinging, I am trying to connect with google.com. I am trying to ping google.com. I'll click enter. So here you can see pinging google.com. So now my DNS server has translated that google.com into its IP address. This is the IP address of Google. This is the IP address of Google. So just now our DNS has translated that Google name into IP address. And furthermore, the only IP address are running. There is no google.com here. The entire IP address will be, because system only works on the IP addresses. System only works on the IP address, right? So for an example, this is the, as I said, this is an IP address of Google. So I'll copy this IP address 216.58.203.14. So I'll go to browser. I'll add a new tab. And this is my Edge browser. Okay, this is not the Chrome browser, right? And this is the Edge home page. So here I'll enter this IP address. Which IP address? The Google's IP address. This one, 216.58.203 and 14. I'll enter. Once I'll enter, so see here, the DNS has translated that IP address into name, correct? And it has translated with human readable language. Again, I'll enter the IP address and I'll click on enter. See here, DNS has translated that IP address into name and I got the result. You got it, guys? You got it, team?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, great. So interviewer also asks these questions. What is the role of DNS? So you need to simply say DNS is, we are using DNS. DNS is helping us to translate the name into IP addresses and IP addresses into name. Then you have to set one example. You have to, tell one example to the interviewer. Okay, this is just a bookish language that, DNS translate the names into IP address and IP address into name. But how it exactly it works? So you can simply say this example, google.com. So for an example, sir, if I'll open command prompt and type google.com, ping google.com. So DNS will translate that name into IP addresses, okay, and we will get the result. Or DNS will translate that google.com into its IP address and it will send to the Google server. And once we will receive the Google request from the Google server in the form of IP address, then again DNS server will translate that IP address into name and we will get the result. And this happens within a fraction of seconds, right? So the very first times whenever you enter this google.com, so maybe it will take a little bit time. Not little bit means not more than 1 or 2 seconds, because first times it generally search the DNS search the about the IP address of the DSCP that DNS server, not DNS server, we would say IP address of that destination. And once it will get it, so it will store that DNS entry in the DNS records. In the DNS records. Okay. These things definitely we will see once we'll discuss on the network commands, right? So there we will discuss all the stuffs. Okay. So there are two types of zone in the DNS. One is forward lookup and second one is reverse lookup. One is forward lookup and second one is reverse lookup. Just check a fresh pic for you so that you can understand this. So here you can see this is the DNS server. Okay, this is in betaexample.com for an example. Okay, DNS server, or this is the user for an example. Okay, and this is the root server, top level example, authoritative. Okay, okay, this will be a little bit complex. Let me just take another example, a simple example. Then later on we will, see the advanced option as well. Okay, for example, this is my computer. I have typed google.com. So this will now go to my DNS server. So it could be, my router. In router we have seen, we have that DNS. We have enabled the DNS, right? This is the DNS, correct? DNS. So my server is playing a role as a DNS, correct? So this could be my server or this could be my router. Server means this is a server means this one, the VMware server, correct? The server 2016. So once the server DNS server will receive the request from end user or end devices, it will check in our database whether we have that google.com IP address or not. If it is not, then it will broadcast that in the network that do we have any Google IP addresses. Then it will reach out to Google server. Then server will send the reverse packet and then DNS server will again display or translate that IP address into that name. Okay, so this is the entire process. So here yesterday we have seen the entire network diagram. So let me quickly check. Let's see here. So this was the entire, the trap we can say. Okay. So for example, we are sitting in India, Nagpur, and if I'll type google.com, okay. So first my DNS server, which is configured, which is my router, it will translate that name into IP address and it will send the packets to the Google server, which is in the California, which is in the California. Okay. So this is the path which routers play role here in the path selection. Okay. So once my router will send the IP address of Google server, and the Google server is there, and Google server will now calculate and they will process like what request we have received, and then Google server will share the result in the form of IP address only to whom, to the router, and then route DNS router, then DNS server will show the result. They will translate the IP address into name again, and we will get the result. Clear? So this entire process will not take more than 1 second. This is you can now see how fast our internet is, right? Okay. So this is the DNS. The DNS server you can configure in router and in server as well, and in firewall as well. Okay. Firewall also play a same role, but in most of the cases we assign DNS or DHCP, servers in our server operating systems. In some cases routers are also responsible. Okay, So if you have multinational organizations, so they were there, you can see multiple DHCP servers, multiple DNS servers are there. Some additional DNS servers, some additional DHCP servers. So if in case one server get failed, so the operation should not be impacted. The backup server should start work immediately. Okay. So this is how the DNS and DHCP works. DHCP provides IP address. DNS translate that IP address into name, domain name, and domain name into IP address. So why DNS is used? Because as we understand, the computer only understand the IP addresses, right? But for human, it is very difficult to understand or to learn the or to remember the IP addresses. Correct. For an example, we have seen here the Google's IP address. This is the google.com IP address. Is it easy to understand? Is it easy to remember this? No. But simply we can understand Google, because being as a human being, we easily understand the names, not the numbers. Correct. So that is the reason DNS comes into the picture. Okay. So any question on this, anyone?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
uh Anyone else? Any question?
Sir,
Or
DNS also
yeah, Neeraj.
used for ad blocking.
No, this is something it it has some rules, okay, but we cannot say like completely it is used. Okay, that we will discuss. Don't worry, we'll have that. The from where we usually block the websites, block the ads, and all. We have that concepts because in everywhere DNS concepts are used. DNS is not that much simple, which I told you. It is just a very basic. It is not a one part of DNS. Okay, but we are just here seeing like how it works. you know what are the types, like we have forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone. In forward lookup, it translate name into IP address, and in reverse lookup, it translate IP address into name. So the basic things we have seen here, because in your job these things are required. Okay, we can also see a lot of things, but I don't think like this is required. We have that root servers, like then top level domain servers, then authoritative these DNS servers. So if we'll get some time, then definitely we will discuss on that, but as of now it is not required, to be very honest, because we have a lot of things to learn here, so you have to set your mind for that. Okay, we will not see, or we will not discuss the topics which are not useful in our daily operations. Okay, because I can teach you those topics, but if it is not in use in 2 or 3 days, you will just like forget this all options. So that is the reason I am not you know uh, teaching you all this stuffs. Okay, so any other questions, teams, if you have it? These two topics are very very critical one. Okay, 110% interview will ask these questions. Okay, so just practice this. Okay, and in the next Saturday we'll have a basic mock calls. Okay, and just be ready with that. Whatever topics we have covered so far, we will discuss on that, related to operating systems, control panels, their settings, IP address, DNS, DHCP, you know this basic things we will discuss. And for like Shubham and all, so I'll take your the mocks for this team lead role as well. Okay, so Shoaib has joined. Let me just check if Shoaib. Kunal, are you also ready for the mock for the next week? Will you be ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's have your final mock on. I think most of the topics are covered, right, Kunal? What all things are left for you?
Yes, sir. Most of the topics are covered, sir.
All right, then definitely, we'll have the mock on the next Saturday, and then accordingly we'll proceed. And we also have Subham. All right, Subham, get ready, okay, for this mock on the next
Yes, sir.
Saturday. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, then we'll complete that. Okay, so any further questions? If not, then let's wrap up this call and we'll connect in the next Saturday. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.